Parshat Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar, 5784, ending off Yom Yerushalayim in preparation for Shavuot. So much going on. Start with the Parsha. In the Parsha, we begin the counting of the Jewish people. One of the greatest questions is, what's the need for Perek Aleph? Let's explain. Perek Aleph begins describing who are Rashei Shvatim, who are the people that are in charge of each tribe. From there it goes on to give the number of each shevet. So that's Perek Aleph. Comes in Perek Bet. It speaks about the flags, how each three tribes had a flag. 4 different flags that the Jewish people ran with, like we run on Yom Yerushalayim, Mitzadat Galim. The flags. Same too in the Midbar, we had 4 different flags. But what's interesting is that all the details of Perek Aleph are incorporated into Perek Bet. We have in each shevet, they tell us the name of the Nasi, the leader. They tell us the number, and then they include each 2 tribes in the Dekel. So all the details of Perek Aleph are in Perek Bet. So why have a whole Perek write something that we're going to see in another 5 minutes in Perek Bet? And I think that even though the details might be similar, the presentation is very different. The presentation of Perek Aleph is, how do you build an individual? How do you give them their own identity? How do you make them feel that we're not a communist religion that destroys the individual, that is scared of self-awareness, that is preventing self-growth and celebrating self-deprecation? So comes Perek Aleph and says, we're not communist. We have different names. Every shevet on its own. The goal of a shevet is to enjoy being on its own, to celebrate on its own. And for each individual within it to have its own number and no flag. Only then, Perek Bet comes and says that the idea now, once you've been able to identify the individual, is that the elevated individual is one that celebrates the flag, that's excited for something that could unite him with people that are different to him. Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, Ka'ir Shechubra La Yachdav. It's a city that is not meant to celebrate a tribe. It's not in anyone's tribe. It's the flag of the entire 12 Shvatim. It's in the middle of the Machaneh. It itself is a flag. Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh is not in Yehuda and not in Binyamin. It's in between. It's saying, I don't want to relate myself as a flag. I want to be able to have space. The flag is making room for the left and the right on the opposite sides of the flag to see each other, to hear each other, to have a common denominator, to link each other. Like in Ish v'Isha, that are the opposite sides. Zachu, they have a common denominator in between, which is Shechina. And once they have that common denominator, they're able to be different from one another and not cancel each other's differences. And we go to Ma'amad Har Sinai. Ma'amad Har Sinai, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Lech Red. Says Masechet Brachot in Daf Lamed Bet Amud Aleph, red is red migdulatcha. Don't be special, Moshe. Be apart. Realize that your uniqueness is not to elevate yourself, but it's to relate yourself to the Jewish people. And in these times, in this year, that in our preparation for Shavuot, we're thinking about all the tears, all the mayim rabim, the damim rabim, shenishpechu kamayim, that are pouring all over our country. It's meant to be liquids that atone us, demand of us, reflect on us, to not chas v'shalom think that we cannot be with those flags. Every single one of the soldiers is now a flag. They have space for all of us. They have room for all of us. Every single one of the families that are dealing with shchol, they have such a deep void that will never be filled. But they also made space for all of us to listen to them, to hear them, to be with them. B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh in this Shavuot, here shechubra la yachdav, to find the common denominator, to find the space, to find the listening, to find a world that doesn't judge, but a world that celebrates that my disability is someone else's ability, and someone else's disability is my ability. And that harmony is what the flag of Perek Bet represents. And it's what represented in Moshe Rabbeinu, that in Mamad Har Sinai is with the people, realizing that all of his greatness, he's teaching us was for one thing, to be a part of and not against.